So it's nice to be back, and I'm going to use insights from Michael Nathanson to help frame some of these questions as we take a look around the landscape. At one point in your interview, he said, every time I get really worried about our long Alphabet call, which is like every other quarter because Alphabet underperforms Meta, I keep thinking that YouTube is this phenomenal asset that has futuristic implications that no one's thinking through yet. And then he also said that YouTube TV now has over 9 million customers, and that in 2 years' time, YouTube will be bigger than Comcast and
Yeah,
Charter.
YouTube TV specifically, yeah.
Yeah, YouTube TV. So I'm curious because that's the other shoe that has yet to really drop, like YouTube just taking over the world. What should the future look like for YouTube and YouTube TV? And maybe I misspoke there because YouTube is probably today already way more dominant than a lot of people realize.
You stole my segue, which is no. YouTube has already taken over the world. So there's a couple points on this, and I did realize probably through a conversation. Oh yeah, I did actually read about this one too a long time ago. Sorry, just sprained my shoulder patting myself on my back.
Okay, there's the douche. I was gonna give you credit. Look, just for people keeping score at home. Ben's take on never binge watching TV and being holier than thou, that's kind of douchey, but then he saved it by saying that, yeah, I do waste a lot of time on Reels. Now we're back to douchey Ben takes here.
Yes, I just got to go full circle. It's like one of those memes. We're just going to spin around faster and faster. No, YouTube is really, so number one, what is the number one streaming service in the world?
I would have said Netflix before.
But I'm setting you up. Yeah. YouTube is, and not just when you take devices broadly. It's like, oh yeah, people watch YouTube on their phones or iPads. No, the number one streaming service on TVs is YouTube.
That is what astonished me. I can't believe that's real.
Yep. No, it's real. It's been real for a while. And there, the weed, I think, continues to grow because, and this is a really interesting way to think about things and what's happened in the entertainment industry broadly. People in the industry will think about it in the context of the industry, which is people paying money to build shows. And in that world, Netflix is this big dominant sort of thing. But this gets into the whole like jobs to be done framework. The consumer wants to sit on their couch and watch something on TV. To them, it's not constrained to the professional Hollywood content. It's constrained to whatever's on your TV screen. And this is where things like video games come in. But the big kahuna, the one that really matters, is YouTube content comes in. And so what this does is it gives YouTube this just fundamental advantage compared to anyone else because they have exclusive rights to YouTube content. I mean, it sounds obvious, and this is where the payoff is of user-generated content in general. They don't pay for that content. Now, they pay a lot as far as how much ad revenue they share and the cost of serving YouTube, which, by the way, they don't disclose, and I think is a violation of SEC regulations, but I've been on that drum for ages and ages. But they have exclusive access to YouTube-specific content, and you can envision this world. What are some of the complaints as we're having this breakup of the cable bundle, right? And this is going to be a big issue for the NBA next year, like where they have some games on Peacock and some games on NBC and some games on ESPN and Amazon. And you can't go to what would you do if you're an NBA junkie, say, or you just have a huge hard drive on your DVR? You could go and click record NBA games. It would record all of them. Or you could even do record the Bucks.
Yeah.
And as if you had the cable bundle in the state of Wisconsin and covered by the Bucks regional network, you're going to get basically every Bucks game at very little work. There's no solution for that now, because some of them are not going to be on the regular cable bundle. They're going to be spread out. So this is a problem to be solved. I'm pretty sure we did a podcast about this, how ESPN wants to do something here. The idea that there needs to be an aggregator for sports, something that sits on top of all this supply where users can go, because what do aggregators solve? They solve discovery. They don't solve distribution. They solve discovery. The internet takes care of distribution. And so you need to discover the distribution channels which exist, and someone needs to build that. Well, the trouble is the pushback against ESPN, say, building an app to be, which they've talked about. I don't think they've ever actually launched it, but of course they could serve ESPN content, but they could point you to others. Well, if you're pointing to others, you need to subscribe to those other ones.
Yep.
If you're going to subscribe, you need to have a billing relationship. Who's able to have that billing relationship? Whoever owns the core device. That could be your cable provider. It could be your smart TV, or more likely it's the operating system on there, which maybe is Android OS, or it's Roku, or it's an Apple TV,
Apple. Yep.
or Amazon with the Kindle Fire Sticks are much larger than Apple TV, even though you don't want me to be a douchebag again, say, why would you not use, an Apple TV? Actually, Apple TV has lots of problems. It's non-standard, so you get a bunch of oddities, but the processing power, it's much more powerful, works better. Anyhow.
I would also add Apple TV's remote is really small and easily lost, particularly if you have a toddler.
And annoyingly does not have the Find My built into it. So I did get this rubber case that puts the Find My chip within the case, and it both makes it bulkier and also makes it so you can find it. So there's my my purchase recommendation of the day.
Yeah, well, and that's my only complaint as an Apple TV customer, because otherwise it is a fantastic piece of hardware that has improved my entertainment experience over the last 2 years.
Right. Just don't tell that to a lot of developers, because it drives them bonkers, because it's like it's all totally like custom, different than what they do, all these sorts of things. But that's their problem, not ours. Sorry, developers. Anyhow, so
within that context, what's the YouTube opportunity? They could be the aggregator that makes this easy for everybody. And I will add that it also applies to non-sports fans. I mean, right now, the landscape that we have, it's all atomized and it's super expensive and confusing for people to navigate. And it seems like the current spot is ripe for disruption and ripe for somebody to come and solve problems in an intuitive way. And so should that be YouTube?
Well, I have bad news for everyone. The expensive part is not going away. This was one of those things. It was sort of like Uber back in everyone's anchored on like Uber prices of the 2010s, and they complain about how expensive it is. It's like, yeah, that was VCs funding your rides.
Mm-hmm.
They have to actually make money now because they're a business, and now you're paying much closer to the real costs. Sorry, that's the way it is. That happened with streaming. You had these streaming was way too cheap for basically way too long, and everyone got in their head, oh, I could. Netflix is only $10 a month. This is amazing. Look at all this content you got. Well, guess what? People were paying $100 for their TV. In the late 90s or early 2000s. You add inflation to that, or like, guess what? You're paying $250 or $300 now, or whatever it might be. That's just the way it's going to be, and it was an aberration that basically entailed a lot of companies setting money on fire in the meantime. And by the way, it was amazing for consumers. It was cheaper. And by the way, they were spending a gazillion on content. We can get to the content question a little bit, but it's definitely one of those, the amazing period of golden age of TV. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's gone. Not sure if you appreciated it was there.
Better in 2012.